Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my proposal, Living as Learning. In an age of high stakes testing, rote memorization and test taking strategies rule a good portion of the learning day, if not all of it. This inevitably leads to a separation between what is learned in school and students' lived experiences outside of it. Fortunately, in the classroom, there are multiple opportunities across the curriculum to engage learners in an interactive way, allowing students to explore and deepen their understanding of abstract concepts and experience them in real life. The following proposal aims to use these opportunities to create a general education classroom environment suitable for grades kindergarten through second that promotes Tsunesaburo Makaguchi's concept of learning is living. According to Tsunesaburo Makaguchi, a late 19th and 20th century educator, study is not seen as a preparation for living, but rather, study takes place while living, and living takes place in the midst of study. Study and actual living are seen as more than parallels. They inform one another intercontextually, study and living and study throughout one's whole life. Makaguchi draws attention to the importance of engaging with abstract concepts and connecting learning to concrete experiences, utilizing the learner's surroundings. In doing so, he presents a possible solution to the challenge of ensuring students' knowledge develop beyond what is on the test. In stating that learning and living should inform one another, Makaguchi is pointing out that what happens in school, the learning that takes place in the classroom, should be linked to what students experience in their daily lives. Beginning with the classroom, the goal should be to create an environment in which students can freely explore and interact with various study materials, and where they can also explore their interests. Makaguchi says, the core mission of education is not simply making knowledge in the form of study materials available. Rather, it is guiding the process by which learners themselves understand, appreciate, and evaluate, and in this way assimilate, the study materials that already exist in their surroundings. In order to allow students to understand and evaluate study materials, they should be clearly labeled, easily accessible to all children, and available for use at all times. By organizing the classroom this way, it promotes students' natural curiosity and allows them to independently engage with the materials rather than requiring the support or permission of a teacher. Materials should be rotated according to units of study. Using the science curriculum as an example, in studying life science, a center can be created providing materials related to investigating fish. When moving on to another unit, such as pumpkins, the center can be changed accordingly. Looking closely at the pumpkin materials, it is also important to note that there is a variety of objects that includes pictures and realia. This promotes active student engagement by allowing students to identify and label the parts of a pumpkin, both by studying a photo and examining an actual pumpkin. While a wide variety of materials within a center is beneficial, as seen in the Pumpkin Center, I propose that the materials be limited to the topic of study. In only setting out materials according to the unit, students are not unnecessarily overstimulated by too wide a variety, and it encourages students to revisit. This can encourage lengthy exploration, allowing them to draw connections that they may not have seen on the first visit to the center. According to Makaguchi, schooling that sacrifices children's present happiness and makes some future happiness its goal violates the personalities of the children as well as the learning process itself. And in another interpretation of Makaguchi's approach, interest is the purpose, not the means, of learning. Another way to promote active student engagement and exploration is to implement academic choice time in order to promote the learning process. Allowing students daily scheduled time to freely explore materials promotes student interests and explorations, lived experiences with materials and abstract concepts, and opportunities to move beyond analytic knowledge. What is meant by analytic knowledge? The philosopher David Hume believed that pure rational thought is limited. Simply reading about something and thinking about it doesn't result in true understanding. By focusing on student interests, young learners, who naturally draw connections to real life, have more opportunities to move beyond analytic knowledge and arrive at true understanding. This can be further encouraged in approaches to delivering curriculum. In moving beyond analytic knowledge, we can arrive at synthetic knowledge. The philosopher Immanuel Kant defines synthetic knowledge as concept and experience married together. In order to truly grasp something, the abstract must be linked to experience, In other words, for true understanding, study and living should go hand in hand. The following suggestions for curriculum is inspired by this summary of Makaguchi's approach to teaching. Makaguchi worked to ensure that, at the actual site of education, abstract concepts and learning would be deeply and consciously linked to lived reality. Knowledge that is rooted in lived realities and illuminated by universal principles is inherently critical. Its conformity to fact is subject to testing against immediate realities, its inner coherence to testing against the larger logic of principle. In exploring abstract concepts and universal principles, they should be linked to lived experiences to promote a deeper understanding. Examples of this include, when studying the 4 seasons, taking a nature walk to observe and record how trees change over time. Or when learning about sorting and categorizing in mathematics, walking through the neighborhood and sorting and categorizing the different types of trees, animals, etc. Or when studying force and motion, visiting a playground to use swings and slides to explore how our bodies can be used to create force and motion. Another example is seen in the photos. When learning about the parts of a plant, students went into the school backyard to look for plants. They then pulled weeds from the garden boxes, passing them around to observe, touch, and feel the various plant parts. They were then invited to draw what they saw in their notebooks, using the plants themselves as a guide. Lastly, they returned to the classroom to label a diagram of a plant. Students were able to associate new vocabulary words such as roots, stem, leaves, and flower to a tangible object and also to a lived experience. Only then was a worksheet introduced as a means of practicing writing and spelling and reinforcing what was already experienced and explored in real life. The last component of living as learning includes involving the local community in the student's learning process. Makaguchi states that education should be clearly connected in practice with actual social life so that it can transform unconscious living into fully conscious participation in the life of society. To help achieve this, members of the local community, such as parents and guardians, should be involved in the classroom in a meaningful way that is related to what students are learning. This further promotes connecting what is learned in school to the realities of their daily lives. The first step in allowing for this would be to send a survey to parents and guardians to learn about their professions and interests. In this way, during any given unit of study, there may be a parent or guardian available to help teach about or explore a concept. A survey allows for fostering a sense of community by learning about parents and guardians and opportunities to bring in experts to help further explore topics being studied. In Makaguchi's view, it is possible and epistemologically necessary for all subjects to begin with students explicitly observing how the content of these subjects is already applied by real people in the real world. In getting to know the parental community through a survey, educators can potentially tap into a wealth of resources and allow students to see how a subject is applied in the real world. People can be invited into the classroom in almost any topic of study. For instance, in 2nd grade, when learning about government leaders, a parent who's a local politician can come in for an interview. If there are no local politicians amongst the parents, perhaps they are connected to one. Students can prepare questions ahead of time related to the importance of governance and the impact of leaders and their actions on our daily lives. They can also connect it to their immediate realities. For instance, they can learn about the school board and how its decisions influence the classroom and school environments. Another example for younger grades is in writing. During writing units, there are opportunities to bring in authors or journalists who can share about why they enjoy writing, how they use it in the world, and give suggestions to help the students in their own writing processes. I'd like to conclude with the following quote. Like Dewey, Makaguchi rejected the idea that education is preparation for living. Rather, education is living, and living is education. When students can freely explore and engage with materials, take abstract concepts into the real world, and when parents, guardians, and local community members are involved in learning, they can truly experience learning as living. They will be able to move beyond gaining analytic knowledge used simply to take a test, and instead learn to fully and consciously participate in society. Thank you for your time.